Welcome in, guys. It's Black Spring with Autumn here on Friday. And I'm just going to be brief, get in and out with this little report here. And let's see what shakes loose. Hi, everyone. It is Black Spring with Autumn on your Friday. Thank you so much for coming on back with us. I really appreciate it. And I just kind of wanted to talk about what's happening. I kind of gave you a little bit of a tease earlier this morning, and I did entitle this stream "Escapism." And I did that because there seemed to be a little bit of a parallel historically when it comes to imagination, and in literature, many in the past we've had writers that subscribe to the thought or to the school that, of course, the imagination was quite resourceful. And so, can you say that some of this technological? Is it more of a? Is it more? Is it more of a pure? Is this out of pure escapism, possibly, that we find ourselves with all of this AI and the technology and the capabilities, along with these devices such as the Oculus, and being able to transform ourselves from wherever we are. So let's explore that. We'll be right back. Okay, so I entitled this, of course, I mentioned escapism, neo-escapism. So, and I'm reminded of that because of a bit of the romantic period, when it came to American literature. And of course, you can find that, escapism was thought of as, where the mind allows you to escape conditions, whether they were harsh conditions, by taking you to a place that is, purely, you know, maybe even whether it was improbable or beautiful, whatever it is. But it seems like the elite kind of play on that. They play on our need for releases. They play on our need for escape. They play on our need to balance things out, to have a work-life balance. Um, dare I say, a people, balance, and restoring ourselves. Um, but of course, you had characters in romantic literature that were often, journeying from city into countryside, or to a place that's totally not, realistic or improbable, um, and even supernatural. But what I want to get into today is maybe perhaps some of those mediums, uh, the mediums that are being used to transform you into those, or transcend some of that. I want to kind of look at this first little device. Hope you guys are doing well out there. And I want to say thank you so much to our friends over at Twitch, per usual. So we'll just say thanks to Twitch, and we'll come right on back. Let's see. I kind of want to do that before we get into this. So we'll be right back. All right, thanks so much. And while we're at it, let's check in, let's check our status. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, what I'm going to do right now is actually, let's go ahead and jump into our liner, shall we? Thank you so much for tuning into this segment of Black Screen with Autumn on your Sound Friday. Let's have a look at this. Now, I kind of chewed over the fact a little bit earlier. We were talking about the 15-minute cities, the freedom cities, and we also talked a little bit about the actual Cleveland becoming an actual smart city. Yeah. It looks like Cleveland wants to break ground as the first city. That's a part of their goal. I don't know what agenda that they're on, but I think that they're planning the city that they're planning to make that more real. So we'll see. We'll see what's happening there. You guys are doing well out there. So we'll start. We kind of want to start there, but I tell you, there's one thing for sure. We're definitely not short on this hue of blue and the purple. We're certainly not. So we want to get the concept. What can I go with in terms of the concept? Do we have any Ohioans out there? Smart cities. Okay, the concept. They're trying to connect everyone to the concept. Smart cities, they allegedly, use technology and data to intentionally improve residential life. That means using innovations like acoustic sensors to transmit information about the location of a gunshot to the police, or outfitting trash and recycling bins with sensors that alert the waste management company if a container is full. So fastcompany.com, I think they're fast smart cities one-on-one, what they are and how to build one. So, it's on the agenda for some people, but we could take a quick little look at it here. Smart Cities 101. It's not too lengthy. Let's do that first. Let's just go ahead. Of course, we want to give ourselves a chance here. Hope you guys are doing well out there. And then I want to go to the actual piece the feature piece, so to speak. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at the Smart Cities 101, and then we'll look at the 15-minute city. And then, oh gosh, okay. So as you can see on the screen, we are doing a Smart City 101. Financial system is on that is tanking per usual. But let's have a look here. So Smart Cities 101, what they are and how to build one. Building a smart city has the potential to improve lives in a big way. But I find this interesting. If you look at this imagery on the board, you notice how in the background, that everything in the background is The background is the foreground. You have a superimposed city with this blue, this Tiffany blue, inside of a light bulb, which it kind of looks like some type of scepter on the Phoenician, like Ra, one of those scepter things. It's pulled off of there. You see the if you can see the lines here, the light bulb. But then you have everything in the back that's kind of more of a illuminated. It's a raised green. Okay, everything is green. So I'll move on from that. Okay, so this is penned by Jonathan Levitt. Smart devices have been in homes around the world for years. 60.4 million households in America actively use smart products like speakers, televisions, and thermostats. By 2025, this number is expected to rise to 64.1 million. Globally, the number of Internet of Things devices is expected to grow from 9.7 billion in 2020 to 29.4 billion in 2030. Okay, so you notice they're keeping that number in front, the 2030. Okay, I've always been interested in how IoT devices can make our lives easier and safer. My household is automated. When the kids return home at the end of the day, the garage opens automatically and the Wi-Fi is programmed to shut off so they can do their homework. If something can be connected to the cloud, I've connected it. In making my home a smart home, I've seen firsthand the benefits of digital transformation. As IoT devices become more affordable and helpful, it begs the question, why aren't our cities smarter? And what can we do to get them there? So here's the question. They bear the question, what exactly is a smart city? The smart cities use technology and data to intentionally improve residential life. That means using innovations like acoustic sensors to transmit information about the location of a gunshot to the police, or outfitting trash and recycling bins with sensors that alert the waste management company if a container is full. Can you imagine how much better your commute would be if, instead of waiting for the light to turn green, when you're the only person at the intersection, the traffic light had a camera sensor that automatically switched it to green? Although something like this may seem like a small issue, when that issue and dozens of others disappear, the increase in the quality of life is noticeable. That's what smart cities are all about. Although some of these components might one day become standard issue, ultimately, no two smart cities will be exactly alike. A smart city's development is driven by the specific needs of its citizens, such as optimizing utility payment processes or making traffic flow more efficient. Those needs can be influenced by everything from geography to cultural values and resources. Urban, suburban, and rural areas will all be different. How do you build a smart city? Here it comes. The foundation for any smart city is digital transformation. This term doesn't just refer to the analog to digital change process. It requires you to rethink everything you do, integrating different technologies to serve as catalysts or supports. Going through digital transformation opens everyone to new possibilities about how cities operate and serve people. Cities should start with low-hanging fruit in the community, pain points that can be solved with relative ease, but yield changes with a large positive influence. Many cities start by putting common services online that are often a pain in the butt for everyone to do in person, such as bill payments and applying for or renewing licenses. Cities don't have to digitize every available service. No one expects them to boil the ocean, but they need to start somewhere. No matter what starting point is identified, have patience as the work starts. Building a smart city requires long-term investment and planning on the part of the government. Here it goes. Part of this process involves anticipating potential upgrades based on what legacy systems are already in place and how easy it is to integrate with them. Few technologies are, quote, future proof, but over time, as more and more of the community's smaller pain points are eliminated, bandwidth can open up to address larger problems, such as keeping air quality at a certain level and reducing crime rates. Iteration and buy-in are key. Smart cities are holistic, meaning there's no single thing that makes one. Waste management systems can reduce emissions, while smart lighting can deter crime. This spider web of connection makes it vital to carefully consider funding and potential ramifications. Constant iteration is necessary to determine what to implement and when. Advances in technology may require reworking what's already been done, but in the end, doing so can benefit everyone. When a new component or updated version is introduced, it'll take hard work to get buy-in from citizens. If people can't see how the part meets their needs or makes their life easier, it's likely they won't support it. Of course, any new idea any new idea needs somebody to introduce and champion it to others, which is where leadership comes in the picture. Change can be scary and difficult. Building a smart city depends on someone who can lead the charge and assess and direct each step of the digital transformation process. The first step in this citizen-centric approach is evaluating the needs of the people in the community, even in a community that has trouble envisioning what a digital transformation would look like. It's still possible to get workable feedback from citizens. I spent most of my career listening to what others need or want, and it's taught me that determining the first step towards digital transformation is as easy as asking citizens what they're looking for. As a marketer, I've learned it is always about giving your stakeholders a seat at the strategic table. For cities, your stakeholders are your citizens. You can make assumptions about what features or functions stakeholders want, but at the end of the day, there's no replacement for the actual voice of the citizen. Take the time to slow down and really listen to citizens. It will make laying the foundations for a smart city much easier. It's all about collaboration for good. Building a smart city has the potential to improve lives in big ways. Even so, it's something that should happen with intentionality. It takes someone who can spot the potential for change, then translate that potential into practical action. Making meaningful change means everything is done with service in mind. What will best improve citizens' lives and the city's functionality? Both government and private sector players have an important role too, providing regulation, funding, and resources for the process. Smart cities aren't just about technology, they're about collaborating for long-term social good, no matter what that means for the residents of the given community. Okay, so you've got some keywords in there. Some key pairings in there for sure. Okay, so we're going to move right along to the next piece, to the feature piece. All right, hope you guys are doing well out there. Thanks so much for taking the time. It is Friday after all. Okay, so we also had a piece, is why the case for the 15-minute city. Okay, so this was published yesterday. The case for the 15-minute city, the concept of a city where all essentials are 15 minutes away by foot or bike, has come under fire from the CTs recently. But it's just how people in cities used to live. Okay, at my last apartment in Oakland, it took 5 minutes to walk to the local library or a coffee shop, or to get a burrito or dumplings or Nepalese food. I was a few blocks from a dentist, a hardware store, a shoe repair shop, 2 bookstores, and 4 grocery stores a few blocks further. I could go to a movie or get on the train to go see a show downtown or in San Francisco. A park with a hiking trail around a large reservoir was 10-minute bike ride away. It was easy to drive, but I just didn't have to. The basic concept of the, quote, 15-minute city, the idea that ideally cities would be designed so that anyone can reach every destination within a short walk or a bike ride, isn't new. In Paris, where Mayor Anne Hidalgo helped popularize the idea in a re-election campaign in 2020, some parts of the city were already walkable enough to meet the, quote, 15-minute definition. In the US, your great-grandparents, here we come with the rhetoric, might have lived in a neighborhood like this, and fragments still exist. Quote, I think you can look at most urban development that happened pre-war, pre-mass expansion of personal automobile use, and you can see examples of that, says urban designer Mallory Batches, director of strategic development at the nonprofit Congress for the New Urbanism. It doesn't necessarily have to happen in a city. If you live in a small town, You might also be able to quickly walk or bike to a grocery store, work or school, or other daily errands. Some urban planners have been pushing for more walkability for decades, but the catchiness of the 15-minute city concept has gained traction in recent years, both as a way to reduce pollution from cars and to increase quality of life. Other cities, such as Portland, Oregon, pushed for, quote, 20-minute neighborhoods earlier. Last year, Cleveland started to adopt a 15-minute city framework for planning. The small city of O'Fallon, Illinois, worked the idea of the 15-minute city into its master plan for 2040. With more density, mixed-use neighborhoods, and a better network of sidewalks and bike paths. But as more cities have started talking about it, it's also spawned a backlash. In the UK, conservative politicians Nick Fletcher called 15-minute cities an, quote, international socialist concept, end quote, that would, quote, take away your personal freedoms. Conspiracy theorists claim that residents of the city of Oxford, which has plans to both adopt the 15-minute city ideas separately and reduce the traffic on some roads, would be trapped in their own neighborhoods. Last month, 2,000 demonstrators gathered in Oxford with signs like, quote, say no to 15-minute cities, and, quote, zero carbon means zero life, end quote. Conservative commentator Jordan Peterson said that the idea was, quote, just another fad hijacked by wannabe authoritarians. In reality, the idea offers more freedom, not less. If you want to run an errand without sitting in traffic, you can. The vision suggests that more people also would have the option to walk or bike to work or work remotely so they could avoid commuting in a car. Quote, what it means is as an individual, you aren't relegated to your automobile, says Batches. There are multiple benefits. Less time spent driving or searching for parking means more free time to do the things you actually enjoy. In studies, people rank commuting as one of the least favorite activities, unsurprisingly. For every 2,000 steps you walk, your risk of a premature death may fall 8% to 11%, according to the one recent study. Your risk of diabetes or heart disease drops. Walking reduces stress and makes you happier. Another study found that if you have an hour-long commute, you need to earn 40% to be more happy, to be as happy as someone who can walk to work. You're more likely to know your neighbors. The list goes on. As the name, quote, 15-minute city suggests, the concept isn't just about a particular neighborhood, but giving people across a city better access to daily amenities. 15-minute zones stretch farther than single neighborhoods and overlap if someone wants to go to another part of the city. They obviously can. Still, even without conspiracy theorists warning of being locked down in a neighborhood, people balk at the idea of changes in infrastructure that could make walking and biking easier. Even in liberal Berkeley, California, for example, a planned bike lane has generated fierce resistance from residents who are afraid of losing parking spaces. Quote, we've come to assume as a general public that the way that you get to work, to your school, to your job, to your shopping, to your appointments, that you do that by car, says Bratches. But people forget, she says, that top-down planning created that car dependency, including zoning that keeps housing far from stores and wide streets with fast lanes, fast traffic, and little shade that few people want to walk on. It's not so much that people choose to drive as they've been forced into it by bad design. Whether or not the, quote, 15-minute city, quote, catchphrase continues, the idea will, Batches says. Quote, I think the ideas that the 15-minute city describes are the future of cities, she says. So you've got the fluff part, right? You've got your fluffiness in there. Okay. So will it fold? I don't know if people, I don't know, dare I say, Orwell and some of these other people, is it a matter of us saying enough is enough? Is it a matter of us letting people, tell us how the quality of life should be, and this is what we're going to do? And then, of course, you notice that the piece in there that they didn't let you down on, the government needs to be involved. So for all those conveniences, how much do you think is going to have to, or how much do you think it's actually going to cost? It's going to cost the taxpayer. How much do you think how much of that cost is going to get rolled back to the actual citizens? Do you think they're just going to do this just because the greater good? I like I said, the language in there, and then they try to drop their little test. They try to drop their statistics in there. They try to drop in their they try to drop in their persuasion and their rhetorical tactics to they try to throw in the pathos, talking about, oh, perhaps your grandparents lived in a city like this, and oh, there's still remnants of those cities around, and they've tried every piece in there. Okay, they tried to do it with the statistical data. They tried with the pathos. Yeah, they definitely have tried to mine every piece of appeal, okay, or logical fallacies, using a ton of logical fallacies to get you to get on board. Okay, so let's move over really quickly here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So kind of switching the gears here just a little bit. The next piece that I want to talk about, I kind of want to switch gears. Let's go to the individual carbon footprint tracker. Let's go. It's going to come from sociable.com or .co. Okay. This is a government and policy, quote, the individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. This is the Alibaba president of the WEF 2022. The carbon footprint trackers are another tool in the unelected globalist social credit system kit. Okay, so we're going to do that one, and then we're going to go to Next Sense. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're not sure if you're tuning in, I appreciate you for considering it. So I'm going to share the screen with you, because our last piece is going to be on Next Sense. The foundation of brain health is what we'll go after this one. But I'm going to keep on this track. Okay. Hope you guys are doing well out there. So according to this, you should be able to see this on your screen. Hopefully I'm able to give you the full scale on it. Okay. So here we have at WEF 2022 in Davos, the president of Alibaba Group announces that the platform will roll out an individual carbon footprint tracker along with a SaaS application for businesses to track their carbon footprints for ESG purposes. Now that ESG, my friends, would be environmental sustainable goal. Okay. So speaking at the World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos on Tuesday. Now this is not a new, this is 10 months ago, keep in mind. In Davos on Tuesday, Alibaba Group President J. Michael Evans announced that the Chinois multinational e-commerce platform would soon be launching carbon footprint trackers in an attempt to change people's shopping and travel behaviors. The carbon footprint tracker looks to operate similarly to the Chinese Communist Party's social credit system by rewarding people who, quote, do the right thing, while punishing those who, quote, do the wrong thing. Here's the quote. We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. That's where they're traveling, how they're traveling, what they are eating, what are they consuming on the platform. That's J. Michael Evans, the president of Alibaba Group, WEF 2022. All right, so let's see if we can maybe, I don't know if we can play this. I can watch it on Twitter. Let's see if it'll come out here.
We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Riveting, right? That's, you're going to be absolutely neurotic. Is that what is that, do you want, is that the kind, is that to turn into like some type of fanatic about something that you really have no ultimate control over? They're the ones that actually want the control. It's not you that's craving that control. It's not you, it's them. Quote, at 1 billion consumers, we're developing through technology and an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. Okay, So this is Evans told the unelected globalist at Davos during the Strategic Outlook Responsible Consumption session. What does that mean? He went on to say. So, that's the quote that he just gave you. So, of course, there's more of this. They'll probably try to ding me for playing all these little clips. But you guys, of course, can grab this from the Party of Davos on the WF, they're on their website. An individual carbon footprint tracker doesn't have to be part of a social credit system. It can be used by shoppers and travelers simply as a way to know how much they're consuming for their own purposes, but it's a slippery slope towards being a social crediting tool. As Evans explained, quote, we have set up on our platform products that will show what are the carbon emissions if you're buying them. So people can look at what the carbon emission effect is of buying a certain product. Measuring individual carbon footprint is one thing. However, if governments mandate the tracker as a matter of policy for punishing or rewarding behavior, that it becomes yet another tool for enforcing a system of social credit. And with Alibaba's plan to introduce a, quote, green travel, end quote, scheme that awards bonus points to those who comply, the Alibaba president admitted that the plan was to incentivize customers, quote, to do the right thing, which is the same method as the CCP uses for authoritarian social credit system. And see, I told you guys, the stage was already kind of set. You've already been massaged and you've already been deceived in many ways before. People have already been massaged into doing the right thing, or snitches get rewards. Mayor Garcetti said out of Los Angeles, they're going to the participatory obedience in this whole scheme for their purposes. Okay. I think there's some spiritual stuff going on here in all honesty, but let's keep going here. So yes, he talks about doing the right thing, and who are they to decide what the right thing is? Are we not adults here? Okay, so I think he did go into on the issue of, quote, green travel. Evans explained that, quote, what we're going to do is to allow people to first calculate the best route, the most efficient route, and also the most efficient form of transportation, quote, and then if they take advantage of those recommendations, we'll give them bonus points that they can redeem elsewhere on our platform. Quote, so they're incentivized to do the right thing, even if they were provided with the opportunity to decide to do the, quote, wrong thing. According to Evans, quote, the right thing for travelers to do is to use the routes and forms of transportation that the Alibaba algorithm recommends. According to Evans, let's see, no. The routes may or may not be the quickest, and the platform may recommend you walk, use a bicycle, bus, or carpool. But if you don't go along with the recommendations and decide to drive yourself, you may be, quote, doing the wrong thing. Doing, quote, the wrong thing means you have to pay extra or lose out on the bonus points that can be spent on the Alibaba platform. See, that's exactly what that is. That's exactly what that is. This is a little bit lengthy here. So, you guys can totally look into that. I wasn't aware of this tracker, and it's 10 months old. So, 10 months in. But you have all these quotes. I mean, of course, you can go on to that particular site and read, because to me, it's more of similar things here. It's kind of like, what is it? It's we've already been conditioned to deal with reward programs, loyalty programs. So this would be a loyalty, to me, equivalent to a loyalty program of courtesy of this Alibaba, whatever program group. So this is their idea of loyalty program is basically more of a social credit something. Your consciousness about the earth and the crises and and the sky is falling is going to be depending on whether you do the right thing based on their algorithms. So the algorithms will determine whether you do the right thing or not. Okay, that's what we need, right? Okay. So it says the purpose here, I'm just reading these quotes. The purpose of this is not to make money for Alibaba. It's the way that we can contribute to our ESG commitments. J. Michael Evans, president of the Alibaba Group, WEF 2022. Okay, the Alibaba president went on to say that the China-based company was also creating a SAAS application for businesses to track their carbon footprints for ESG purposes. Quote, we are also creating an SAAS application for businesses, so each business, large business, small business, can track their carbon footprint, said Evans. This is something that businesses would not normally develop themselves because it's too expensive. But at scale, for 10 million small businesses and 250,000 brands, we can do this. We can roll this out. This is not about making money. The purpose of this is not to make money for Alibaba. It's the way that we can contribute to our ESG commitments and taking 1.5 gigatons off the platform. See, but you better believe there's something in it. There's some profitability in there, whether there's some kind of break or kickback somewhere, but you better believe this is not, where the greater good is just so, the demand for the greater good is so high. It says, quote, you have to help these dumb little common man consumers understand how to change their behavior, because we can only be agents of change if the dumb consumers are also agents of change. Now, they once said that children were the agents of change. I'm just saying. The idea to track individual and corporate carbon footprints is all about manipulating human behavior. During the same WEF session in Davos, L'Oreal CEO Nicholas Hieronymus referred to this type of behavioral manipulation as, quote, consumer empowerment. Quote, you have to give consumers information that allows them to make educated choices in terms of products, end quote, said Hieronymus. And you also have to help them understand how to change their behavior, because we can only be agents of change if consumers are also agents of change. This is that whole kind of elite stuff. The common man is too dumb to do it, to come up to figure out what behaviors are good. We don't have enough moral compass, or we don't have enough morality or enough intelligence. The common man is not intelligent enough. Where have we heard this kind of garbage from? Change your behavior, you humans, because you're not that smart. We elites have to tell you what to do. There is a global price on carbon. In its 8 prediction for the world in 2023, the WEF predicted that there would be a global price on carbon. What would be the purpose of setting up a system to track people's carbon footprints if it wouldn't be to tax or otherwise punish those who, quote, do the wrong thing? Carbon footprint trackers are yet another tool in the social credit system kit. Under China's social credit system, citizens are given a credit score based on their online and offline behavior. It's a system that rewards, quote, good behavior, like spending time with the elderly, while punishing, end quote, bad behavior, like protesting the government or spending too much time playing video games. We, quote, trust, end quote, when quote, trust, end quote, is broken in one area, restrictions are placed everywhere, meaning citizens commit even minor infractions, can be blacklisted from traveling, going to restaurants, renting a home, or even having insurance. This has happened to over 30 million citizens, according to the Chinese state-run media. Okay, so let's see. This one, maybe this is cool. This one is my vlog. CGTN reporter test out China's. So that'll be interesting. Let's give that one a whirl. Let's give this one a whirl. See how does it work.
Trustworthy people should be given enough rewards, but for those who break trust should also pay for it. It brings me to another part of the government social credit system. Here I am at the Supreme People's Court in Beijing. Till February 2019, over 30 million people are named in a list of dishonest persons subject to enforcement by this court. They cannot go traveling by planes. They cannot go traveling by high-speed trains. They cannot go to luxury restaurants, and they can't get a golf courses. They are unable to get an insurance, and they can't even rent a house. If trust is broken in one place, restrictions are imposed everywhere. Actually, personal scoring system has been present in the West for decades. For example, eBay has a rating system for shipping times and communication. Uber passengers and drivers both rate each other. And many companies in the US are using FICO scores to determine many financial decisions. China's social credit system only expands that idea to all aspects of life. This is a very trustworthy mechanism. Both data and rating are used responsibly and with citizens' permission. I do believe that it will help us to have a better life.
Okay, so does that sound convincing to you, right? No, maybe so. Okay, so here a worldwide interoperable social credit infrastructure is already being built thanks to the corporations like Alibaba and authoritarian governments like the Chinese Communist Party. All that is needed for the social credit system to spread globally is political, economical, environmental, and catastrophic catalysts for public and private entities to enact it into policy. When the WEF founder Klaus Schwab declared, quote, "Now is the time for a great reset" in June of 2020, he explained, "The world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies, from education to social contracts and working conditions. We must build entirely new foundations for our economic and social systems. Carbon footprint trackers are just another tool in the unelected globalist Great Reset agenda to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies, and they can be a powerful tool for incentivizing, coercing, or otherwise manipulating human behavior when applied to systems of social credit." Okay, so you can see you've got all of this business here. Of course, you can always go over to the party. You can go over to the WEF and check all of this out. Okay, so that's what you have there. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do, I'm going to save our piece, our other piece with the AI and the technology. I'm going to save that piece for another day, probably, later in the weekend. Okay, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's see. Thanks for our friends over at, thanks for our friends over on Twitch. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, it is Friday. I know you guys have things to get to, so I'm going to be signing off here just very shortly. I appreciate you guys. I really do. All right, guys. Well, I look forward to seeing you guys around during the weekend, and keep your eyes open. And enjoy the small things. Things are so crazy right now. We have to live like, our moments are precious. That's what we should do. Hope you guys are doing well out there. And please check out some of the streams from earlier in the week. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. I'll give you this little note here. So that actually comes from Ephesians 5:16. Redeeming the time because the days are evil. That's Ephesians 5:16. Okay? So keep that in mind with your weekend. All right, guys. I will see you around soon. Take care.